I was in a relationship with Jasmine for 3 years. We were happy together, or at least I thought we were. Then one night she brought up wanting an open relationship. My heart sank. I reluctantly agreed, because I was afraid of losing her. Little did I know she already had someone else in mind. When I discovered her betrayal, I turned to her best friend Taylor for comfort. One thing led to another, and we ended up sleeping together. Before I tell you how everything fell apart, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever had to make a tough choice in a relationship. I first met Jasmine at a local coffee shop in Seattle 3 years ago. I was 28, working as a software developer and not really looking for anything serious. That changed the moment she walked in. She had this infectious laugh that made everyone turn and look. When she accidentally spilled her latte on my laptop, I should have been upset, but something about her smile made it impossible to be angry. We exchanged numbers so she could pay for repairs, but we both knew it was just an excuse. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant downtown. The conversation flowed easily, and by the end of the night, I knew I wanted to see her again. Our relationship progressed naturally from there. We enjoyed hiking in the mountains on weekends, trying new restaurants, and spending lazy Sundays watching movies together. 6 months in, we took our first vacation to California. Standing on the beach at sunset, watching the waves crash against the shore, I realized I was falling in love with her. By our 1-year anniversary, we had met each other's families. My parents adored her, especially my mom, who kept dropping hints about grandchildren. Her family was more reserved, but they seemed to accept me. We started talking about the future, making plans together. We even discussed moving in together, which we eventually did after 18 months of dating. Living together was an adjustment, but we made it work. I learned to deal with her leaving clothes everywhere, and she tolerated my obsession with organizing the refrigerator. Our apartment became our sanctuary, filled with memories and inside jokes. We had our arguments like any couple, but we always resolved them by the end of the day. Never going to bed angry was our unspoken rule. As our 3rd anniversary approached, I felt certain Jasmine was the one. I saved for months to buy the perfect engagement ring, a princess-cut diamond with a white gold band. I planned to propose during our weekend getaway to a cabin in the mountains. I had it all worked out down to the exact spot by the lake where I would get down on one knee. But in the weeks leading up to our trip, something changed. Jasmine became distant, constantly on her phone, smiling at text messages. When I asked who she was texting, she would say it was just work or friends. She started staying out later, claiming happy hours with colleagues ran long. My gut told me something was off, but I pushed those feelings aside. I trusted her. The night before our anniversary trip, we were having dinner at home when she dropped the bomb. I was in the middle of telling her about my day when I noticed she was not listening. She was fidgeting with her napkin, her eyes avoiding mine. "Adrian, I have been thinking about us," she said, her voice unnaturally calm. "I love what we have, but I feel like we are too young to settle down completely." I put down my fork, my appetite suddenly gone. "What do you mean I want to try something different? What would you think about opening up our relationship?" The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. The engagement ring hidden in my sock drawer suddenly felt like a foolish purchase. Open relationship. Like seeing other people, I asked, hoping I had misunderstood. She nodded, leaning forward. "We would still be each other's primary partners. I just think we should explore before making lifelong commitments. Do not you ever wonder if there is more out there I did not." For me, Jasmine was enough. More than enough. But sitting across from her, seeing the determination in her eyes, I felt my world crumbling. Was I not good enough? Had I done something wrong? "This is not about you," she assured me, reaching for my hand. "I just want to experience more before settling down. It does not mean I love you any less." That night, I could not sleep. While Jasmine snored softly beside me, I stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of everything. The next morning, I called and canceled our cabin reservation. The ring remained hidden, my proposal plans indefinitely postponed. I needed someone to talk to, so I reached out to Taylor, Jasmine's best friend. We met at a quiet cafe downtown. Taylor had been friends with Jasmine since college, and she had become my friend too over the years. She was always straightforward, someone I could trust for honest advice. An open relationship. That does not sound like the Jasmine I know, Taylor said, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. Are you okay with that arrangement? I do not know, I admitted. I love her. I want her to be happy. If this is what she needs right now, maybe I should try it. Taylor frowned. But what about what you need? Adrian, relationships are about compromise, sure, but not at the expense of your own happiness. Her concern touched me, but my fear of losing Jasmine was stronger than my misgivings. After a few more days of consideration, I reluctantly agreed to Jasmine's proposal. We set some ground rules, promised complete honesty, and stepped into unknown territory. Looking back, I should have seen it for what it was, the beginning of the end. It did not take long for Jasmine to start dating. Just 2 days after our agreement, she mentioned casually over breakfast that she was meeting someone for dinner that evening. A friend from work named Mark. She dressed more carefully than usual that night, wearing the black dress I had bought her for Christmas and her favorite perfume. She left our apartment with a quick kiss on my cheek, promising not to be home too late. I spent that evening alone, trying to distract myself with video games and beer, but my mind kept wandering to what Jasmine might be doing. Who was this Mark? How long had she known him? The questions gnawed at me until I finally fell asleep on the couch. When Jasmine returned around midnight, she slipped into the apartment quietly. I pretended to be asleep, not ready to hear about her night. The next morning, she was unusually cheerful, humming while making coffee. She offered no details about her date, and I did not ask. This became our new normal. A week later, I noticed Jasmine unlocked phone on the coffee table while she was in the shower. I had never been the type to snoop, but curiosity and insecurity got the better of me. I picked it up and checked her messages. What I found confirmed my worst fears. There was a lengthy chat history with Mark, going back months, well before her suggestion of an open relationship. The messages were flirtatious, intimate, making it clear they had an emotional connection long before they started seeing each other officially. I put the phone down, feeling sick. Jasmine had not wanted an open relationship to explore before settling down. She had wanted permission to pursue someone she was already interested in without feeling guilty, without having to break up with me first. Over the next few weeks, Jasmine continued seeing Mark regularly. She came home later and later, sometimes not until morning, offering vague explanations about falling asleep at his place. She was happier than I had seen her in months, which only deepened my pain. Meanwhile, though technically free to date others myself, I had no interest. How could I when my heart was still fully invested in Jasmine? One night, about a month into our new arrangement, I texted Taylor. I needed to talk to someone who understood the situation, someone who would not judge me. We agreed to meet at a bar downtown. I arrived early and was already on my second whiskey when Taylor walked in. "You look terrible," she said bluntly, sliding into the booth across from me. "Thanks," I replied with a weak smile. "I feel worse." I told her everything, including what I had discovered on Jasmine's phone. As I talked, Taylor's expression shifted from concern to anger. "That is manipulative as hell," she said, shaking her head. "She is using you as a safety net while she tests things out with Mark. You deserve better than that, Adrian." Maybe I sighed, but I still love her. I keep hoping this is just a phase, that she will realize what we have is worth preserving. Taylor reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You know what the worst part is? She is telling everyone a different story. At Sophia's birthday last week, she was saying she thinks she found someone better suited for her, but she is trying to let you down gently because you are so sensitive." Her words hit me like a bucket of cold water. She said that, "to all your friends." Taylor nodded, looking uncomfortable. "I did not want to tell you, but you should know the truth. She is not being honest with you, Adrian." We ordered more drinks, and as the alcohol flowed, so did our conversation. Taylor told me about her own recent breakup, and somehow sharing our mutual heartaches brought us closer. By midnight, we were both drunk, leaning against each other in the booth. "We should get out of here," Taylor suggested, her words slightly slurred. "My apartment is just a few blocks away. We can keep talking there." At her place, Taylor opened a bottle of wine, and we settled on her couch. The conversation eventually circled back to Jasmine and her betrayal. You know what I found out, I said, the alcohol loosening my tongue. She has been seeing Mark for 3 months. 3 months before she even brought up the open relationship thing. Are you serious? Taylor's eyes widened. That is even worse than I thought. Yeah, I saw text messages from January. We agreed to the open relationship in April. Do the math. Taylor moved closer, her hand on my arm. I am so sorry, Adrian. You did not deserve any of this. I do not know who moved first. Maybe we both did. One moment we were talking and the next we were kissing. It was desperate and messy, fueled by alcohol and shared pain. In the back of my mind, I knew it was wrong, that this would only complicate things further. But in that moment, all I wanted was to feel something other than the constant ache in my chest. We stumbled to her bedroom clothes, discarded along the way. There was no tenderness, no sweet words, just two hurt people seeking comfort in each other's bodies. Afterward, as we lay in her bed, reality began to seep back in. This was a mistake, I whispered into the darkness. Probably Taylor agreed, but she made no move to pull away. I spent the night, leaving early the next morning with an awkward goodbye and a promise to call later. On the Uber ride home, my emotions were a confusing mix of guilt, satisfaction, and anxiety. I had technically done nothing wrong according to the rules of our open relationship, but sleeping with Jasmine's best friend crossed a line that existed outside those rules. To my surprise, Jasmine was home when I arrived, sitting at the kitchen table with coffee. She looked up when I walked in, her expression unusually soft. Hey, she said. I was worried when you did not come home. I mumbled something about crashing at a friend's house after too many drinks, not ready to confess what had happened. To my astonishment, Jasmine did not press for details. Instead, she got up and made me breakfast, something she had not done in months. Over the next few days, Jasmine's behavior changed dramatically. She was attentive, affectionate, suddenly spending more evenings at home. She stopped mentioning Mark altogether. At first, I was confused by the shift, until I overheard her on the phone with a friend. He just ended it, she was saying, her voice thick with emotion. Said he got what he wanted and was not interested in anything serious. I feel so stupid. Everything clicked into place. Mark had dumped her, and now she was retreating to the safety of our relationship, exactly as Taylor had predicted. That evening, Jasmine approached me with what seemed like genuine remorse. I have been thinking about our arrangement, she said carefully. I do not think it is working for us. Maybe we should go back to being exclusive. I studied her face, searching for sincerity. Why? The sudden change of heart. She looked down, fingers fidgeting with her sleeve. I realized that what we have is special. I was foolish to risk it. Can we just put this whole experiment behind us and move forward? A month ago, those words would have been everything I wanted to hear. Now they rang hollow. Nevertheless, I nodded, not ready to confront her about what I knew. I agreed to her proposal, but something fundamental had changed. The trust was gone, replaced by a gnawing resentment that grew with each passing day. A month later, Jasmine threw herself a birthday party at our apartment. She invited all her friends, including Taylor, who had been avoiding both of us since our night together. I was surprised she accepted the invitation, but there she was, standing uncomfortably by the snack table when I arrived home from picking up the cake. I was not sure you would come, I said quietly, approaching her with a beer as a peace offering. She took it with a tight smile. Neither was I, but I figured it would look stranger if I did not show up. Our conversation was cut short when Jasmine appeared, wrapping her arm possessively around my waist. There you are, babe. Come meet my cousins from Portland. As she pulled me away, I caught a glimpse of someone familiar across the room. Mark. My stomach clenched. Jasmine had invited him to her party into our home. When she saw me staring, she quickly explained, "We are still friends from work. It would have been awkward not to invite him. It does not mean anything." Before I could respond, she was dragging me toward a group of her relatives, introducing me as her soon-to-be fiancé. The title felt like a cruel joke, considering the ring was still hidden in my drawer untouched for months. The evening progressed with Jasmine drinking more than usual, getting louder and more affectionate with me in front of her guests. I played along partly out of habit and partly to avoid making a scene. But with each fake smile and forced laugh, my resentment grew. Around midnight, I found myself in the kitchen, refilling drink pitchers, when I overheard Taylor talking to another friend in the hallway. They were both tipsy, their voices carrying more than they probably realized. It was just a one-night thing, Taylor was saying. We were both drunk and upset. It did not mean anything. Still, the other voice replied, sleeping with your boyfriend is pretty messed up, even if they are in an open relationship. My heart stopped. I set down the pitcher and peered around the corner. Taylor was leaning against the wall, her face flushed with alcohol and embarrassment. The friend was Sophia, another member of Jasmine's close circle. It was a mistake, Taylor insisted, and it is not like Jasmine was being faithful anyway. She was screwing Mark for months before she even suggested opening things up. I did not see Jasmine approach until it was too late. She had heard everything. Her face contorted with rage. She stormed toward Taylor. You did what she screamed, causing the entire party to fall silent. All eyes turned to the hallway, where Jasmine stood facing Taylor, trembling with anger. Jasmine, calm down, I said, stepping between them. She turned on me, eyes wild. You slept with my best friend. After everything we have been through, the irony of her outrage was not lost on me. Everything we have been through. You mean you cheating on me with Mark for months? Before convincing me to agree to an open relationship. A collective gasp went through the room. Jasmine's face drained of color. That is not what happened, she protested weakly. Is not it? I challenged, months of suppressed anger finally breaking free. I saw your messages, Jasmine. I know you were seeing him long before you suggested opening our relationship. You manipulated me because you were too cowardly to just break up, and that justifies sleeping with my best friend, she screamed, shoving me hard in the chest. We were in an open relationship, remember? Your idea, not mine. You do not get to make rules and then be angry when I follow them. The party guests were now openly staring, some uncomfortable, others clearly entertained by the drama. Jasmine friends huddled together whispering, while a few of our mutual friends looked between us with conflicted expressions. Get out, Jasmine hissed, pointing at Taylor. Get the hell out of my apartment. This is my apartment too, I reminded her. And if anyone should leave, maybe it should be Mark, considering his role in all this. All eyes shifted to Mark, who had been trying to blend into the background. He raised his hands in surrender. Look, I did not know it was that serious between you two. She told me you were basically done. Another lie exposed. The room felt like it was spinning. Guests began gathering their belongings, making hasty excuses to leave. Within minutes, the party had emptied out, leaving just Jasmine, Taylor, and me in uncomfortable silence. How could you do this to me? Jasmine asked, tears streaming down her face. The question could have been directed at either of us. I could ask you the same thing, I replied quietly. Taylor grabbed her purse. I should go. I am sorry, both of you. This is all messed up. After she left, Jasmine turned the full force of her anger on me. She threw a glass against the wall, shattered it. Then she grabbed a framed photo of us and smashed that too. 3 years. 3 years of my life wasted on you, and you throw it away for one night with Taylor. You threw it away first, I said, too tired to yell back. You threw it away when you decided I was not enough for you. When you lied, instead of being honest about what you wanted. She stormed into our bedroom, and I heard drawers being yanked open, things being thrown. When she emerged, she was carrying an armful of my clothes, which she promptly dumped on the floor. Get out, she demanded. I cannot even look at you right now. Fine, I said, gathering my things. But remember, this is not about me and Taylor. This is about you not being able to handle the consequences of the situation you created. As I grabbed some essentials and headed for the door, Jasmine's final words cut deep. I only wanted an open relationship because I was not sure about us. I thought seeing other people might help me decide. Guess we both got our answer. I walked out, closing the door on what had once been the most important relationship of my life. I spent that night at my brother's place crashed on his couch with nothing but a duffel bag of hastily packed clothes and my wounded pride. In the morning light, as I sipped the coffee he silently handed me, I felt something unexpected relief, like I had been carrying a heavy weight for months and finally set it down. "Want to talk about it?" my brother asked, joining me at the kitchen table. I gave him the condensed version, expecting judgment or at least surprise. Instead, he nodded thoughtfully. "Honestly, I never thought she was right for you. Always seemed like you were trying harder than she was." His observation stung because of its accuracy. I had always been the one making concessions, planning around her schedule, accommodating her needs. Somewhere along the way, I had lost sight of my own. My phone buzzed constantly that day, with messages from Jasmine alternating between angry accusations and tearful pleas. I ignored them all, needing space to think clearly for the first time in months. I called my boss and took a few days off work, using some of my accumulated vacation time. 3 days into my self-imposed exile, Jasmine showed up at my workplace. I was gathering some files I needed when she appeared in my office doorway, eyes red from crying, hair uncombed. "We need to talk," she insisted. "You cannot just disappear like this." My coworkers were staring, curious about the drama unfolding. I grabbed my jacket and led her outside to avoid a scene. "There is nothing to talk about," I said once we were on the street. "It is over, Jasmine. We both know that. It does not have to be," she pleaded, grabbing my arm. "We can work through this. Couples therapy, whatever it takes. What we had was special." I gently removed her hand. "Was it? Because from where I am standing, it looks like you were willing to throw it away the minute something better came along. That is not love, Jasmine. That is convenience. That is not fair," she protested. "I made a mistake with Mark. I admit that. But you slept with my best friend X." "Best friend, apparently," I corrected. "And yes, that happened. After you had already checked out of our relationship. After you had already been with Mark for months. The difference is, I am not pretending what I did was okay. But I am also not going to let you use it to manipulate me into coming back." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I was confused, Adrian. Mark was just a distraction. When he ended things, I realized you were what I really wanted all along. Does not that count for something?" And there it was, the admission I had been waiting for. She had not come back to me because she loved me. She had come back because her other option had fallen through. I was her backup plan, her safety net. The revelation solidified my resolve. "No, it does not count for anything," I said firmly. "In fact, it just confirms that ending this is the right decision. I deserve better than being someone's second choice, and honestly, so do you." "What is that supposed to mean?" she demanded, tears forming again. "It means that neither of us was happy. We were just comfortable, familiar. But that is not enough, Jasmine. Not for a lifetime together." She followed me for several blocks, cycling through various tactics. She reminded me of our good times, threatened to destroy more of my possessions, promised to change. None of it moved me. By the time we parted ways, she seemed to finally understand it was over. In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. My brother helped me find a small apartment across town. Friends I had neglected during my relationship welcomed me back. I even joined a rock climbing gym, something Jasmine had never been interested in doing with me. I ran into Taylor about 2 months later at a mutual friend wedding. We found ourselves at the same table during the reception, an awkward coincidence neither of us had anticipated. "How have you been?" she asked cautiously, keeping her voice low. "Better," I answered honestly. "You, same. I lost some friends over what happened." Jasmine made sure of that. I nodded, unsurprised. "I'm sorry about that. For what it is worth, I do not regret that night. I regret the circumstances, the timing, but not being with you." She smiled sadly. "Me too. But we both know it cannot go anywhere. Too much baggage." She was right, of course. Whatever connection we had shared that night was built on mutual pain and alcohol, not a foundation for something lasting. We parted on good terms, promising to be civil when our social circles inevitably overlapped. 6 months after the breakup, I started dating someone new. Kate was different from Jasmine, in almost every way quieter, but more genuine. Our relationship progressed slowly, built on honest communication and mutual respect. I found myself happy again sometimes, forgetting to compare every experience to my time with Jasmine. Almost a year to the day after our explosive breakup, I encountered Jasmine at a coffee shop, the same one where we had first met. She was alone reading a book at a corner table. I could have left unnoticed, but something compelled me to approach her. "Adrian," she said, looking up with surprise. "Hi." "Hey," I replied, feeling strangely calm. "How are you?" "I am good, actually. Really good." She gestured to the chair across from her. "Do you have a minute?" I sat down, curious about what she wanted to say. She looked healthier than the last time I had seen her, more at peace. "I owe you an apology," she began, closing her book. "A real one, not the manipulative nonsense I tried after we broke up. I was selfish and dishonest with you, and I am truly sorry for that." Her words seemed sincere, free from the emotional manipulation she had once wielded so effectively. "Thank you for saying that," I said, meaning it. "For what it is worth, I am sorry too, not for ending things, but for how it all played out." She nodded, accepting my partial apology. "I have been seeing a therapist," she volunteered, "working through some issues with commitment, fear of missing out, that sort of thing. Turns out I have some pretty deep-seated insecurities I was not dealing with." "That is great," I said, genuinely happy for her growth. "I mean it." We talked for a few more minutes, catching up on basic life updates. She had a new job, had moved to a different neighborhood. I told her about my new apartment, carefully omitting any mention of Kate. As we prepared to part ways, she asked the question I had been expecting. "Do you think maybe someday we could try again? When we have both had more time to grow?" I looked at her, remembering all we had shared, both good and bad. "No," I said gently. "I do not think that would be right for either of us. But I wish you well, Jasmine. I really do." She accepted my answer with a small smile and a nod. We said goodbye, and I walked out of the coffee shop feeling truly free for the first time since our breakup. The experience taught me more than I could have imagined, about self-worth, about setting boundaries, about recognizing when love is not enough. I learned that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that ultimately lead us back to ourselves. And perhaps most importantly, I learned that losing someone who does not truly value you is not a loss at all, but a redirection to where you are meant to be. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between your happiness and a relationship? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if this story resonated with you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Share with someone who might need to hear this message about self-respect and boundaries. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.